They are putting in place all of these technological mechanisms for control. It's been the ambition of every totalitarian state from the beginning of mankind to control every aspect of behavior, of conduct, of thought, and to obliterate dissent. None of them have been able to do it. They didn't have the technological capacity. Today, the mechanisms are being put in place that will make it so none of us can run.
We've already seen governments weaponize financial access against their own citizens.
Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau invoking emergency powers against the truckers who are protesting vaccine mandates. Banks can now freeze their personal accounts, the accounts of anyone linked to the Freedom Convoy. Grady Trimble is live in Ottawa this morning with more on what the truckers have to say about this. Grady, an extraordinary measure by Trudeau.
Digital currency that will allow them to punish us from a distance and cut off our food supply.
The system uses facial recognition, encrypted document checks, and two-factor authentication to confirm you're really you. What starts as optional often becomes obsolete within a few years. And let's be clear, this isn't speculation. The rollout plan is already written. Phase 1, federal services, done. Phase 2, states and territories, rolling out now in 2025. Phase 3, private sector, coming by 2026. The infrastructure is being built right now to make digital ID the default. Not because they'll force you at gunpoint, but because they'll make everything else so inconvenient that compliance feels like the only rational choice.
You also make it easier for governments and corporations and special interests to track and control people.
Convenience often comes with hidden trade-offs. And in 2025, those trade-offs are becoming impossible to ignore. The Digital ID Act officially came into force on December 1, 2024. Since then, federal services like the ATO, Centrelink, and Medicare have already integrated the system. By late 2025, state and territory governments will follow, meaning things like driver's license renewals, housing applications, and even school enrollments could require digital ID verification. And by the end of 2026, banks, telcos, energy providers, and major retailers will be on board too. What happens if you refuse Australia's digital ID in 2025? It's a question millions of Australians are starting to ask, but few are getting a straight answer to. The government says it's voluntary. Tech experts call it the future. Privacy advocates warn it could reshape your rights.
Every right that you have is transformed into a privilege contingent upon your obedience to arbitrary government dictates.
If you choose not to sign up for digital ID, like the new MyID app, will you still be able to access Centrelink, Medicare, your bank, or even renew your driver's license? Or will saying no quietly lock you out of everyday life in an increasingly digital Australia?
Singapore, for example, has something called SingPass, which is already being used by more than 4.5 million people. South Korea also launched a new app this year, and it's completely replaced their physical cards for banking. Nigeria is rolling out their own, and we also have the UAE with something called the UAE Pass, and that's connected to over 5,000 services, everything from signing legal documents to paying utilities. So you have to ask yourself, why is all of this happening now?
By invoking this Emergencies Act, which has never been used before in the law's current form, it gives the federal government sweeping powers, including providing local police with federal law enforcement resources. On top of that, you can see the truckers are still here. It also gives the Canadian banks the ability to freeze bank accounts without a warrant of anyone participating in this road blockade, as well as anybody funding it. And if trucks are blocking the road, they can suspend the insurance of those truckers.
Now, the government insists this is all voluntary. You will face consequences. Subtle, systemic, and increasingly unavoidable. First, there's access. As more services migrate to digital ID-only portals, the traditional options are quietly being scaled back. You can refuse digital ID today without legal consequence. But that choice comes with growing friction. You might lose access to streamlined services. You might face longer wait times. You might be excluded from new digital-only platforms. And as the system becomes more entrenched, those frictions will only increase.
It will make you a slave. And what do we do about this? What do? We resist.
Every time you use Digital ID, you create a trail, logging into Centrelink, then Medicare, then your bank. That metadata, over time, paints an incredibly detailed picture of your life. Imagine this: you're applying for a small business loan. The bank's entire digital onboarding process is built around Digital ID verification. You say you'd prefer to come in with your passport. They tell you branch appointments are booked out for 6 weeks, and even then, you'll still need to complete part of the process online. Suddenly, voluntary feels a lot like mandatory. Delays could have real financial and emotional costs, and perhaps most concerning, is the risk of digital exclusion. Australia's push for Digital ID isn't just about efficiency, it's part of a broader shift toward a fully digital public infrastructure.
Nobody in history of the planet has ever complied their way out of totalitarian control.
That is now being accepted by 193 nations around the world and equally open-armed accepted by our current administration. Everyone, it says that this is the power structure, fully digital and maximized for the control of the masses. Everyone will be expected to have a biometric digital ID that marks them not just as citizens of an individual country, but as a global citizen. So anytime you hear global citizen or anytime you hear sustainability, think that this is an egregious thing that's happening at the level of the World Health Organization and the United Nations. Anyone that has a dissonant opinion will be labeled as misinformation, disinformation, or malinformation and memory hold. Perpetrators for unapproved information will be fact-checked and punished by the system, which will be operated and enforced by artificial intelligence.
We're going to see 415,000 low-orbit satellites. Bill Gates says his 65,000 satellites alone will be able to look at every square inch of the planet 24 hours a day.
Punishments will include being locked out of one's bank account, being unable to make certain purchases, unable to get on an airplane, on a subway, drive on public roads. This is the future, according to the world's self-appointed overlords at the United Nations. Nothing could be more important at this point in time than to get prepared. Have water, food, digital access, flashlights, a way to communicate with family and friends.
Join the movement now and help spread truth and awareness.